So this is fascinating. Anthropic, Claude, right? They gave access to AI to control their company's in-store. So their company has a store internally, right? Like you can go get snacks or whatever. And they gave AI access to run it for a month. Tell me, if you could guess, what happened?
Well, I want to know, like, what's the store, like, and what is their responsibility? If somebody runs out of pencils, is it the AI's responsibility to replenish the pencils?
Think that's a great question. Think of it from this
I'm
perspective.
asking the hard questions right away. We didn't talk about this before recording.
This is good. Okay, so Anthropic has this internal store for their employees on campus. So they can go and they can buy snacks. I think it's like the main thing, snacks, things that you're going to buy on a break. But when you go, you have to actually purchase them, right? You have to use Venmo or your credit card or whatever. Over the course of that month, things like went wrong really, really quickly. They have fake Venmo accounts. There was an AI identity crisis. They took the margin down to 0. And the experiment, like, basically kind of hinted at the fact that AI is not ready for prime time.
I didn't expect you to say that. I was sitting here completely expecting you to say the opposite thing.
No. Well, that's the way that I read it, at least, right? It's like everybody's talking about AI right now. Oh, dude, did you see whatever? This agent, that agent. Oh, it can.
And by the way, sorry to interrupt you. I just want the listeners to know we are not going to be complete AI doomers on the show. We're not going to be saying like AI sucks, because actually Nick is going to show workflows, AI workflows. But okay, sorry, go on.
No, I think AI is amazing, but I think that we're at the point of the hype cycle where people are starting to realize, like, oh, okay, the world's not ending. If you've noticed, you don't hear AGI anymore, which is, artificial general intelligence. Now you hear super intelligence, right? Like Meta just started a super intelligence part of their business with the purchase of the company that they just did last week. So it's interesting to see the way the dynamic is kind of shifting. It doesn't mean AI sucks or no one's going to utilize AI. It just means that the potential use cases that you thought were going to happen like tomorrow, they're a ways away. Like 90% of the work is done. It's like self-driving with Tesla. 90% of the work was done, but that last 10% has been for the last 12 years where Tesla's like, full self-driving's coming next year. Full self-driving's coming next year. And there's a lot of difficult things to like try to figure out in that last 10%. So that's why I thought that last
10%, that one mistake can be just like, if you're trying to set up an automation and you know that you're going to have, I don't know, a couple percentage points of mistakes, that can create such big headaches for you that the automation isn't worth it in the first place.
Totally. It ends up creating more work for you. Now, there are going to be people who like try to figure out stuff on the back end and they're going to work on it over time. In fact, here's an example. Do you listen to the Acquired podcast?
Oh, yeah. Well, not as much as I used to, but dude, I used to listen to it a lot.
I used to listen to it a ton as well. And then I stopped. And then this last weekend, I've had a ton of yard work. And so I was like, oh, I'll throw my pods in. I was reminded of how good that podcast is. They were talking about Meta and the history of Meta.
Wait, and was this the old one or the new one?
I want to say
from like a few months ago.
Yes, yeah, from a few months ago.
Yeah, I listened to, dude. It was excellent. Oh, dude, man, yeah.
So I'm not all the way through it, but what I thought was interesting were the parallels to today. And I had just listened to the Microsoft episode before that. When Mark Zuckerberg was getting into coding, I mean, he was on AIM, AOL Instant Messenger. Anybody who's in their mid 30s or upper 30s will remember AIM. And the thing was, there was not a lot of utility in these applications that they would build. But these people, they were just tinkering. Like they were just like figuring stuff out, right? And it was fun and it was interesting. And all the people in the suits would look at it and be like, well, there's no use case for that. That's stupid. Why would I want to tag a picture? Why would I want to have a feed full of information of all the changes in the different profiles of people that I knew? Like, why would I need a news feed? Why would I care about updates and events, right? But the people who were focused on it and like interested in it, they were building it because it was fun and it was interesting. And then we see what those things turned into over the course of time. Like those are now mainstays. The feed, the news feed on any social platform is incredibly important and popular. Anyways, the point I was making with that is, in the same way that people were experimenting back then and the suits were looking at them and like, oh, that's a stupid use case. That's never going to work. It's the same thing that's happening now with AI, right? Like you're experimenting with it and you're like, oh, that's a stupid use case. That's never going to work. That's never going to commercialize. But we're creating the future mainstays today. just by experimenting with this stuff. So that's what I thought was like a really interesting parallel from that meta story.
Tinkering is really fun. Tinkering can be
So
productive. Fun. I just don't have as much time for it as I used to.
Well, you know,
now I see so much more. A lot of people, it's like shiny object syndrome. It's like, because the thing is, like, everyone wants to be Mark Zuckerberg, but how many Mark Zuckerbergs are there actually? And then you think, so it's like, how many people actually hit the next unicorn or the next, I don't know, just like even like $50,000 MRR business going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. Personally, I think it's a lot more likely, and I've had this debate with Chris before, with your business partner, Chris Kerner.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot more likely to get there by just sticking with something, which is by just being like very solid and sticking with one thing and building on top of it. But then, and actually that's to me where AI is beautiful, because the longer you build one thing, the more your surface area for opportunity expands. And then when some of these AI workflows are ready, then you incorporate them and you know exactly what you want to do and you know exactly what you're looking for, and it makes it a lot easier to incorporate it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Maybe I sound like an old man. I don't know.
You don't sound like an old man. My personal opinion is that there are two components to success, quote unquote. There's the work that you put in, and then there's luck. I think that the work that you put in establishes a baseline, and I think that luck determines the magnitude to which your success is going to be. Bill Gates. Now that dude was always going to be successful. He's like Attila the Hun. However, he happened to grow up in a space where the school that he had was one of like 2 supercomputers in the country. They had access to credits. There was like this super small series of events that allowed him to have access early on to a technology that most people didn't have access to. And then you couple that with his natural intelligence and his drive, and all of a sudden, you know, he not only had a head start, but he ended up killing the competition. Mark Zuckerberg was like in a very similar situation. So I think those guys would have been successful in their own right, but there was this luck component to it where so that just skewed the magnitude of their success into Microsoft and Meta. And so to your point, yeah, I don't really care to swing for the fences and think, oh, I'm going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. Whatever. Follow your curiosity. Know where you have an unfair competitive advantage, and like just continue to hammer at that.
Oh, I think it's totally fine to believe that you're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. Even like no matter how old you are, I think that's totally fine. I just think the way to get there is to stick with something and build over time and compound your wins, and compound the lessons that you get from making mistakes. Because that's like another thing that nobody gets is you make a ton of mistakes, way more than you expect. And if you start something new, you need to make a lot of mistakes over again, because you're in a new field.
It's very true.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy that people do that.
It's so true, man. All right. Well,
you're going to show us some AI stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I show you some stuff?
Okay.
So I want to back up a little bit. I'm a Neanderthal. I'm not like you, where I'm just building up all these automations and understand exactly all the technical aspects. I don't know how to code. I was never a techie. I've just gotten into this stuff over the last 6 months. So I'm obsessed with finding practical use cases for leveraging AI to make my life better, to find better insights, and to make better decisions. So I'm going to show you some stuff that I do in Claude today, and Notebook LM, which are 2 tools that I use. Hopefully it's not too boring or stupid, but I think that you'll really like it. All right. You've heard of MCP. Okay.
Yes.
So this is Model Context Protocol. Claude or Anthropic actually created this. They were the pioneers behind this. But the idea behind MCP is that it kind of turns this window, right, into your everything window. You never need to go outside of it. And if you actually go to here, you can see, I have a number of things that are already hooked up to it. I have my Google Drive hooked up to it. I could add GitHub. I have my email set up to it. I have a calendar. I have Zapier set up to it. So from this window, I can do things like this. Hey, tell me about my inbox right now. And it will just tell me, oh, here are your 5 most recent messages. Kit and Craft, that was a conference that I went to. Apparently there's a payment that I have with Framer. GitHub, oh, this is good. I've been waiting for access to this GitHub. That's a whole other story. And it kind of just tells me my top 5 things. I can also come in here and tell you, hey, what's my calendar today? What are the most important things that I should be focusing on, et cetera. But I don't have to actually go to my email and look at this. I can just access this right from Claude, which is incredible. I think that's like an amazing thing.
This method of marketing is so effective, I had to make sure it wasn't against Google's rules before I kept doing it. It's a form of SEO I call compact keywords. Whereas most SEO focuses on putting up articles to answer questions how, what, when, compact keywords focuses on putting up dozens of pages that sell to searchers who are actually looking to buy. These pages rank on Google and convert so much better than normal that when I discovered this years ago, I couldn't believe this was allowed. It's less work too. The average compact keywords page is only 415 words. Compact Keywords is a 13-hour deep course on getting sales with SEO. A customer recently said, "Each lesson is dense with information. You're giving years worth of experience boiled down into 15 to 30-minute lessons with no filler or fluff. I feel like I'm gaining a new superpower." Compact Keywords is about setting up an SEO funnel that brings you sales for years and years and years. It works with AI, it's less work than traditional SEO, and it makes way more money. You can get it now at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast.
How easy was it setting this up?
Oh, it's super easy. You would just come here, you'd go to settings, and then within settings, you go to integrations. And then you just add integrations here. And I've already added Google
And
Zapier.
have you had any horrendous mistakes so far?
No, but I'm not necessarily using it to like be my second employee. It's more of giving me information so I can make better decisions. I'd bet if I've been trying to use Zapier, I've been having issues with the way that it's integrated, but I could see how really quickly you can get over your skis if you don't know what you're doing. So short answer is no, I haven't had any issues yet.
But you're using Zapier outside of Claude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for like little simple workflows. But
I love Zapier.
The thing that I like about it is I can come over here with Claude, and I don't actually use Claude for everything. I use ChatGPT for everything, but Claude has kind of two distinct things that I really like. Projects, they're incredible the way that you can set them up. And then this thing over here called artifacts. Let me just show you projects really quickly. I'm going to go through my podcast and my content. Now, if you're listening and you're like, "Oh, okay, snooze fest, I'm not going to listen anymore." Please listen, because I think there were a million applications that anybody could use this for. And I use it for all of my other business applications. This sort of ecosystem of workflows is just the best that I've built out. And I think it shows pretty good what I'm trying to do. All right, so I come here. This is my content creation. And within this project, I have my project knowledge. So I have a complete style guide. And this shows you exactly like, hey, here's my voice. These are my core attributes. These are my tone markers. And I used AI to actually create this style guide. So that
How long did it take you to refine the style guide?
It took me a couple hours. Because what I had to do...
That's shorter.
It may be longer than that. What I had to do is I had to go and find written works of mine that I liked. And then I had to actually put it into a document and then feed it into the LLM and say, "This is my writing style, please distill it." And then the output I wasn't a huge fan of, so I had to like go back and fix it. And there was formatting issues in between there that were a problem. But yeah, I'd say a couple hours. So this is now my context brand guide, style guide. These are some of the... I don't like terminology that has a bunch of business jargon in it. Mix of short, punchy sentences, right? But I like to have threads, how-to threads. I like to have case studies. Anyways, this all informs the LLM so that when I put a transcript of a podcast in here, it can take the information, find the things that are interesting to me, and then kind of spit out a first draft. I have never, ever, ever spit out something and just posted it. It's always just a first draft to like give me an idea of what I'm looking at. And then this is like a template prompt to let it know what I'm doing. I'm entering a transcript. I want you to give me a few key points. This is potentially the desired format that I want, et cetera. And this is what you're going to spit out. So it's fairly high level. This isn't anything
How
crazy.
are you using that was a podcast template?
Yep. So basically,
So, okay, you record a podcast and then
Yep.
you put in your transcript.
Yep.
And then you're basically having it write the description and the title.
partially, let me here. I'll
Because I have my own list of prompts to do that with ChatGPT. But yeah, it's very similar.
So I'll just do one right here. All right. And this is the project overview. This is like my instructions for the project. This creates social media content in my authentic voice based on supplied topics, data points, and materials. And it just tells you exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just going to enter a transcript and I'll show you what it spits out for me. Because you'll see it's not perfect, but it does a really good job of identifying something interesting that I can then go and mess around with. Cool. So I interviewed somebody, his name's Tom. He was a YouTuber and he now runs an agency helping YouTubers grow. And this is the thread that it just spit out.
And so it has all of your transcripts saved.
It doesn't. So I could I could do a workflow with Zapier and the MCP where I go, hey, go and pull Tom's transcript, and it would do Tom Stefanik's transcript. I haven't set that up yet. That's what I've been trying to do this last week. I know that it can do it. I just haven't figured out how to do it. So right now, that was just a copy paste.
Why do you want to do that? What use cases are you imagining by having that set up?
I wouldn't have to go to my drive, find the episode with the transcript, copy it, come back here and paste it. It would just be from one window.
I was thinking more so like maybe it would write things and then it would weave different episodes like within each other, and then you could keep shouting out different episodes. So like if you listen to Founders, what's his name? David Senra, he does that on like every episode. I've like, this episode of the show I talked about this, and I try to do that on my episodes too, to give people places to binge on, because you have all of this content, and you want to encourage them to binge on your content.
Dude, that's a great idea. So the problem is when you have all of that content, you know this, there's a limited ability for the LLM to go and recall, because these LLMs are prioritizing two things: speed and accuracy. And so it will spit out something really quickly, but it might not be accurate, or it might spit out something accurate, but it's definitely not quick. And then beyond that, there are these context windows. ChatGPT's is like 120,000 tokens. Claude is 200,000 tokens. Gemini is 1 million tokens. So in order for you to be able to query all of your podcast episodes, you've then got to put it into a format that is queryable. And that is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So like,
it's very hard.
Oh, it's very hard.
Podcasts are long.
So like, this is my podcast database. And
wow.
Basically what this does is I have a script that I've run in Google App Scripts where it runs and goes and finds the transcripts, and it pulls each one of these things out: episode number, guest name, industry, business type, all these things at the top. There's an API call with OpenAI, and it just fills each one of these.
What did you make this for?
I wanted a podcast database that I could go and query and say, hey, who did I talk to about this business type? Or have I spoken to anyone about franchising? Or what did Edward and I talk about when he came on my podcast last?
And so how do you find these answers? You just ask them just straight up on the show?
No, I'll show you. So this is my ChatGPT, but I have a podcast database. Let's see if it loads for me quickly enough. I have a podcast database that this spreadsheet is uploaded into, and I'll just go to ChatGPT because I like ChatGPT knows me the best, and I'll just ask it a question. I'll say, who did I last speak with about franchising and what was discussed? So it has that podcast spreadsheet database uploaded, and Shane Adeni is dude. That's awesome. This episode is.
But wait, sorry. How did you get all the information in there? Sorry if you said that already.
Oh, you're fine. I'm going to show you that in 1 second.
Okay.
Dude, this is so cool. This episode's not even out yet.
Huh.
Yeah. Because the script I have is anytime there's a podcast transcript uploaded, go and find that. And this is the last person I talked to about it. Cool. So Shayna Denny has a new franchise out called Dog Drop. That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to come back out here to, I'll show you right now, podcast database. And so in ChatGPT, Claude is the same way. You can upload project knowledge, like files, to that project. So this is in ChatGPT, and this is a project in ChatGPT. And so all I've done is I've uploaded that CSV into the project knowledge of that project.
So it's not pulling live from the spreadsheet?
This in ChatGPT, no. So I have an assistant who goes and uploads this once a week. I'm sure there's a way to automate that. I haven't spent the time to like figure out a way to automate it.
Right.
But you have a ton of podcasts. Like, it's just super valuable to be able to go and query that and say, who did I talk to?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
The reason I had to create this spreadsheet though, is because you can't have the full transcript of every single conversation. So you've got to distill it down to some key points. So that way it's queryable. So all that being said.
But did you have like an assistant do research to fill in every column?
No. So that was with Google that was with Google App Scripts. Now, I don't know how to code at all, but I was in ChatGPT asking it to tell me how to write this. And I would literally just like copy and paste. So you can see here, you're an assistant helping me build a structured database of podcast episodes based on the following transcript chunk. Extract the following data. If an answer is not clearly stated, write it unknown or leave it blank. Be as accurate and concise as possible. And then it tells it the extract. I want the guest name, the business name, industry, all those things. Okay. And then it's telling it where to go and access this data. So I'm telling it exactly where in my Google Drive to go to find it. And this is all just written using my Google Sheet. You'll see down here, there is an API here we go. So it's then going to OpenAI. It's accessing ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, and it's using the OpenAI API to then generate those answers. And then there is an output for it, which is this spreadsheet, the podcast database spreadsheet, which is also linked in here. So that's how I did it. And I used ChatGPT to like tell me, how do I write this in Google App Scripts so that it goes to my drive, finds the transcript, pulls it, sends it to OpenAI. OpenAI does the analysis. It then spits out these things into a new spreadsheet, and it populates each line. And so you can see like, I've got how many now? Nowhere near as many as you.
So ChatGPT ChatGPT did the research and filled out all of these.
Correct. Yep, and it did
cool.
it does
That's
it.
cool.
It does it one by one. So yeah, it doesn't take a ton of time, but it does take a little bit of time to actually go through each one of these pieces.
I wonder if you could use. Have you seen the AI formulas in Google Sheets?
Would I go here?
Oh man, I actually just made a podcast about this. I am hyped about it. So actually, here, just stay in Google Sheets.
Okay.
And pick a cell, and then write. I actually even know the formula off the top of my head. It's so simple. Are you in Google Workspace Labs?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah. Google it.
How do I do that?
Because honestly, for like sorting through keywords, this is a game for doing SEO. This is actually a game changer.
Okay, Google Workspace
It's
Labs.
so
Is that what you said?
Yeah. Google Workspace Labs.
Is this the one I signed into?
Yeah.
All right. I'm in.
Oh, good. You're in. Great.
What do I do now?
So go back to your spreadsheet.
Okay.
And now pick a cell that you want to analyze. How about like the 5 items discussed?
Cool.
And because that's a long one, maybe you don't want to read through that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then so use like a new cell or an existing cell, and you can undo it. But
okay.
Yeah, and then write equals AI.
Mm-hmm.
Parentheses. Quote, and now give it a prompt. So like something that you want to learn about that cell that's going to be queried.
Pull out the most valuable business lesson from this transcript.
Well, it's going to be looking at a specific cell.
Oh, okay. So I say this, and then I say,
its knowledge is only going to be what's in the cell. No, you can do, no. You can actually, I think you can do an array. Oh, man.
yeah, it looks like I can do a range.
Yeah. Wow. God, I forgot. Oh my God. Yeah, this is so crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you can do a range.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, let's do a range then. Let's do a range of.
I forgot. Oh my gosh. What am I going to?
5 items discussed. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. Pull the 5 most frequent customer acquisition channels. I know I spelled channels wrong, but I do that all the time.
That's okay. It doesn't even matter.
And then we'll just say Y through Y. And then, oh, it's thinking?
Did you? Yeah.
I'm gonna make this smaller so that we can actually see what the freak.
Yeah, this is great, right?
Dude, this isn't.
So I've been using this to look through. Dude, I've been using this to look through like thousands of keywords doing SEO.
Oh my gosh. Referrals, social media, organic
And
inbound,
it's free.
SEO,
This is
forms.
free, and it's so easy.
What? Oh, dude, you just blew my mind. Oh my gosh. So all the analysis that I've been because what I'll do with this is like, I'll go back to ChatGPT and be like, what are the 5 most used, let's see how close they are. The 5 most used customer acquisition channels.
I mean, I forgot that I could do a range. So now I'm thinking, it's such a crazy feature.
Dude, so this says referrals, social media, organic inbound, SEO, community forums. And this is different. It's different. I mean, it could be the same. They might be just categorizing it a little bit differently.
Which one is better? How do we know which one is better?
So like knee jerk, I like the ChatGPT. I like the ChatGPT better because it gives me the analysis. You know what I mean? But
it's cleaner.
But dude, like for larger data sets, my. Okay, let me do this. So hold on, I want to do this again. Equals AI. So prompt, you just write natural language. Holy balls, that's insane.
So I'll give you my most recent use case.
Okay.
My most recent use case. So actually, I think it's just better explained with a story. So I was helping a friend. He has a crypto marketing agency, and he wanted to go after he didn't know how to do keyword analysis. And so he wanted to go after, I think the keyword was just crypto marketing agency, which is a super competitive keyword, and it doesn't even have a lot of search volume. It's very competitive, doesn't even have a lot of search volume. The thing about SEOs is they are unimaginative, and the best keywords are more creative keywords. Everyone just goes for the standard things because they're not using their imagination. So I'm like, we can find better keywords.
Okay.
And crypto marketing agency, I think it only had search volume. It was like 27, approximately 27 searches a month, which to be fair, it's going to be in reality, it's going to be a lot more than that because these tools completely underestimate monthly search volume, but it's 27 a month.
Sure.
So then I'm like, we can find a better keyword. So I just went and I looked at who was ranking on Google for crypto marketing agency. And I saw this one company, ninjapromo.io. And I'm like, have you heard of Ninja Promo? He's like, yeah, I've heard of Ninja Promo. They're pretty big. So I went to go see what else they were ranking for. They were ranking for thousands and thousands of keywords around marketing. And it wasn't just crypto marketing. It was small business marketing. It was web design marketing. It was web development marketing. It was all sorts of marketing keywords or a services business ranking for a ridiculous amount of marketing keywords. And I'm like, and we saw that they were ranking for lots of crypto keywords as well. But we don't want to look through thousands of keywords to isolate all of the keywords that they're ranking for just to find the crypto keywords, because we want to find their crypto keywords so that we can look for other crypto marketing keywords to rank for. And we want to do bottom of funnel because that's where the conversions happen, and they're usually less competitive. They're easier to rank for. Just bottom funnel keywords, always the best. It's my bread and butter. And so we don't want to look through thousands of keywords to find only the keywords that relate to crypto. So I exported all the keywords that they were ranking for, put it into Google Sheets. It was 10,000 rows. And then I said equals AI, parentheses. I thought the prompt was, write yes or no, does this relate to crypto? The problem is it can only do 200 at a time, but it's literally right away. And actually, so now I'm kind of getting back to the original point. It was literally the third crypto keyword that it found, which ended up being this extremely lucrative keyword. So maybe we could have just found it reading it on our own, but it found all these other amazing keywords just like that really fast. And so the third keyword, my friend who has this crypto marketing agency has a lot of experience. And I'm like, how much do you think one client from this would be worth? And he's like $15,000 a month. This keyword, because it's crypto, this keyword has 155 monthly search volume. And again, in reality, it's going to be a lot more than that. Like it's going to be misspellings. It's going to be variations of the keyword that are very similar. It's going to be it's that page. If you rank number one for, so the keyword was, and I'll say it because we found a million more just like it. That keyword was cryptocurrency PR. I think it was cryptocurrency PR agency. I think that's what it was. Cryptocurrency PR agency or PR firm, something like that.
What the freak?
And so, because it's crypto. So you rank number one for that. And yeah, you're going to have a very lucrative client. And the thing about this keyword was nobody was targeting it directly. So it was whereas the first keyword, which was crypto marketing agency, super competitive. You had tons of players that were established, that had high domain authorities, that were targeting that keyword precisely. Cryptocurrency PR agency, you had lower domain authorities, but more importantly, you had nobody who was targeting the keyword directly.
How did you export the keywords? Like, you said it was 10,000 rows. How did you get the?
Yeah, just use Moz. Any SEO tool will be able to export a website's rankings.
Oh my God.
So Ahrefs can do it, SEMrush can do it. I just use Moz.
So I'm an operator and I've owned and operated lots of businesses. So all of this space, SEO, pay-per-click, whatever, is like all new to me. So when you say stuff like that, you might as well be saying like,
oh no,
I just use Alohomora. That's how I open doors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you're a wizard as far as I'm concerned.
No, okay. No, it's very simple. Keywords are searches. So this, like, have you heard the term keyword before?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, no, the tools in particular is what I'm like. Moz.
All right. So here, I'm gonna try to make it more simple. I completely understand. So in SEO, if like the easiest way to win is to target search terms directly. And that means you like target them in your page title. So if you hover above your tab on Chrome, what you see is the page title. When you do a Google search, what you're seeing mostly are page titles. The blue links, those are page titles. Then right under that, it's typically going to be, it's called a meta description, though Google writes its own meta descriptions. Going deeper, you want that keyword, that search term to be in the page title. You want it to be in the meta description. You want it to be in the URL. You want it to be in the top heading, in the big heading at the top of the page. Yeah. And you want it to be at the beginning of the first sentence. Those are the most important places to put the keyword. And if you do that, naturally, you're going to end up writing a page or a post that is targeting that keyword really well. That's really important because if you're a searcher, you want a page or a post that is written for you, that is written for what you are searching.
But how did you get the list? I guess is what I'm wondering is like, how did you go and decide, identify like, oh, these are all the keywords that are currently ranking. And now I have a list that I can take to Google, export to analyze.
you literally just search any website. You can get, so Moz is like $50 a month if you want to try it. And you can just put in any website into Moz, see all the keywords that they're ranking for, and then you can export that. And it's literally a button that says export CSV. That's it. And then you can open that in Google Sheets, or you can just copy and paste it.
Crazy.
And then you write that AI formula, you drag it down, the AI analyzes each keyword. There's probably so much more that you can do with a range as well. So maybe like analyze all, I'm just thinking.
Yeah. No,
thinking out loud, like analyze all the keywords that they're ranking number 1 for, and then describe the website based on that. Something like that might be interesting.
where do you find like, oh, these are all of the keywords that are ranking relative to crypto, just broadly?
That's what the AI did.
So did you you pulled a bunch of individual websites from Moz?
No, it was this one website called ninjapromo.io that ranks for thousands of keywords.
Oh, okay. So you pulled their website essentially.
I just took only their rankings because they had so many rankings. So I took only their rankings, and then because you don't want to look through thousands of rows, you don't want to look through thousands of keywords, and so you just have this AI prompt: analyze this keyword, write yes or no. Does this relate to crypto? And then when it's done, you just filter it for yes.
Oh my gosh. Jeez Louise, dude. All right. Well,
dude, it's a crazy thing, and it's free and nobody knows about it.
Well, now I'm going to go down another rabbit hole. So this is going to be amazing. Here, let me finish my caveman explanation, and then I got to go like figure out what Moz is so that I don't feel like an idiot. All right, so I want to show.
Moz is super simple. You'll love it.
I want to show you this really quickly. Back to what we were talking about with, obviously I have my podcast database, but with ChatGPT.
How many episodes have you done?
I think this 200. I think I'm like literally right at 200, which is crazy.
Amazing.
In the last year. I mean, it's not 763 like you, but it's getting up there. So
that's great. How many guests? Are they all guests or like solo by yourself?
All guests. I've never done a solo episode.
Dude, well, that's a lot more guests than me. I've only had, I don't know, like 30 or 40 guests.
Really? Wow,
yeah.
That's surprising.
Because at the beginning, I was just doing this myself. I didn't have time to take on guests. I didn't know the workflows to make having guests easy. That's what we were saying before. It's like keep doing it, and then you learn different things that make you improve.
Well, so for me, and this could be for anybody, any topic that you want to learn, there's a lot of information. And like for my podcast, I have 200 transcripts of all these people that I've spoken with. So I had to figure out like how to tranche them in order to get all the information out. So I started using Notebook LM because they've got a 1 million token context window. And I've grouped all of my podcast episodes either by number or by category type. So like these are my AI episodes. And I just want to show you a brief example of something that I did. I went to my AI episodes and I said this right here. Please find me all the step-by-step use cases for AI that were shared that anyone could implement without the need for technical expertise. Focus on the simple yet effective solutions. So it'll actually cite each one of these examples so I can come back to. And then I said, hey, I just actually want to know, just give me a list really quickly so I can look through it. And that's what this list is right here. So it gave me categories: general use case, content creation, business operations, automation, niche, and advanced applications. And then these are the use cases. So it's like if I want to go and understand how to replace Google for non-geographic questions, I can actually go and look at that and it'll give me a step-by-step. If I want to, like, how do I treat AI as an employee? How do I build simple apps? How do I troubleshoot technical issues with AI? How do I go from prompt to wrapper in an app? Now I have like all of these things I can go to, and like, we could just look at one of these. Create internal chatbot. Let's go find that one. I can come here. Let's say chat. Here we go. Where did it go? Create documentation style guide. Nope.
Why is Notebook LM so great? I've never used it. A lot of people love it.
These are all transcripts. These are not Like if you look over here on this side, right? 40-ish transcripts. It's not anything that I've gone and cleaned and made more accessible. So it can take all of this information and synthesize it. It does not hallucinate nearly as much as any of the other AI. Yeah. So if you're like a researcher, if you're someone who wants like exacting information, this is a very, very good tool to use so you can go and get exact information. If you're using ChatGPT or Claude or any of these other ones, you'll ask it a question, even if you have the data set, it will still hallucinate. It will still like give you answers that are like, I never said that. What are you talking about? But here, let's just go to the top one. But here, let's go. Okay, use AI to find automation opportunities in your business. It gives me right here, number 2, an exact citation of where this is. So I can go and actually look at what did she say? How did she actually say it, right?
Dude, that's amazing. So, cause I try to do that in ChatGPT, but when ChatGPT says something, I'm like, okay, when was that said? Well, that actually wasn't said. It was implied. I'm like, no, it wasn't. You know what? You're right. It wasn't implied at all.
Yes. Like that's where I feel like, so ChatGPT is a great thought partner, and I could take all this information and I can be like, all right, what do you think? Let's iterate, let's ideate. That's not what Notebook LM is for. Notebook LM is like, here's the data set, find me these specific things, and then it will actually show you, here's the citation of where it is. So it's less creative and collaborative, but it's much more exacting in the information that it gives, whereas ChatGPT is on the other side of the spectrum, right? Much more creative and collaborative, but not as exacting in the information that it gives. The token win is 1 million tokens. Yeah. So for me, comfortably, I limit it to 40 transcripts. And 40 transcripts is, call it 40 hours of conversations. So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I think I could go more, but what I have found is like, if you just try to load the context window to its max, your output's not very good. So I try to leave enough of an output context for me to have. So this is an example of how I've used AI, the AI episodes, to like find step-by-step use cases from the people that I speak with. But tying it all together, this is an example of how I took all of my podcasts. So you can see here the tranches of episodes 7 through 40, 40 through 80, 81 through 120. I then used Notebook LM to create and synthesize, hey, from each one of these, find these specific items, a summary of what the conversation was about, what's a personal anecdote, what are some guest stories to reinforce them, etc. And from those, I've uploaded them and I've said, hey, I want you, Claude, to effectively create me. Where did it go? This is an artifact. And now I have this Niconomics brand elements where, go ahead. Where in my episodes, it's like, this is my one line. Curiosity is a superpower. That's definitely how I feel. This is the core message in my podcast. An inquisitive mind and continuous desire to learn are invaluable entrepreneurial assets. Like, it's distilling what you're going to get out of my podcast.
Oh, you published this?
I have, yeah, published it.
And so then you share it with your listeners, and are they actually using it?
I literally just created this weekend, actually.
Okay.
But I can come in here to heuristics, right? Ideas are cheap. Execution is what matters. The devil's in the details. First, this is one of my favorites, actually. First-time founders focus on products. Second-time founders focus on distribution. Because what I'm trying to do is like figure out, okay, what are of all these conversations that I've had, like, what are my core beliefs? If you're going to listen to this podcast, what are the things that you're going to hear over and over and over again? And it's pulling out these heuristics, riches and niches. Know thyself. That's one of my favorites. Like, you can't know where you're going unless you know who you are and what you want. And then it's pulled out frameworks, right? Here's how to scale an agency, the 4 phases of business growth, personal risk assessment, etc. But it's just a quick guide that I've used that now I can come back here and say, how do I think about the core job of a CEO: recruit, retain, and inspire. Yep, that makes a ton of sense.
What I'm really into turning this into like an app, which I'm sure you could do easily enough, because then you have an app and now you can actually have that as a subdomain on your website. So you would call it, I don't know, brand.nik.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the domain name nik.com.
Yeah.
But so then you have the subdomain, then you can share it on places like Product Hunt or beta lists, or you can do a press release for it, or you can send it to relevant journalists, or you can share it with your listeners who might share it with their friends. And now what you've done is you've made what's called a linkable asset. And these are things that people return to, or that are so cool or useful or interesting that other people will literally link to them and then give you SEO backlinks.
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
You've heard of backlinks, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that makes your domain more authoritative, which means it's easier to rank for keywords, especially competitive keywords. And you can make it, so you have all this data and you can make some cool app with it. Or maybe you could just, I don't know, maybe you could also just gate it and then charge a subscription fee.
That's what's cool about Claude is like they have these things called artifacts. And so that's one of my artifacts, and you'll see it right here in a second, is this branding guide. But they're like wrappers, okay? I could come, let's see, play a game. Trivia. So this is an artifact that somebody else has created. And it's on Claude. And I can go to the full chat of how it was created. Check this out. I can go and see like, oh, okay, this person, here's the prompt they put in. Here's what it returned. And then I can see, okay, I like it. The glow should be, right? So it's like, then they're like iterating through it. So you can actually see someone's chain of thought as they're going through and building this wrapper effectively on top of Claude for this trivia game, which I think is really cool. But if I wanted to, I could say, I don't really like this. I want to customize it. And I actually want this to be, please make this a family trivia game that is tailored for a 39-year-old, 8-year-old, and 11-year-old. Make the questions
that's cool,
family friendly, and age difficulty specific. I'm sure there's a better way to say it. So now it's actually going to go through here and regenerate this to be like my specific trivia game. So that's what I think is cool about artifacts within Claude is not only could I publish mine and someone could go through and like edit it to make it look that way, but I could actually go on here and effectively what I'm doing is I'm taking somebody's wrapper and just tailoring it to myself. Now the thing is, it's not hosted outside of Claude. You have to be in Claude to actually access these, but I think that we will see more of this where you can actually go through, mess around with what somebody's already created and tailor it to yourself.
Yeah, so, that's cool. It's building now.
Output now.
Yeah, awesome.
Which I think
what are some of the what are some AI workflows that you've seen from interviewing people, talking to people that you are most excited about that maybe you want to do yourself and haven't had time for, but you could see that having a minimal amount of hallucinations and just a ton of utility?
I think chatbots are really, really cool workflows. They take, depending on how large your data set is, they take a little bit of time. But from a utility standpoint, onboarding, orientation, and employee education. So let's say, I'll use you as a specific example. Let's say, hey, podcast is going great. I'm growing. I want to bring on an editor. And this editor is going to have a ton of questions. Well, if you spend a couple hours up front and create a style guide for Edward or an editing guide for your episodes and upload that to a GPT, all of a sudden that editor can go and ask that the question as opposed to coming to you first. So you've cut out a lot of time in, I guess, communication and coordination, education for these individuals. So I think employee onboarding, education, and continuing support is a very, very easy, low-hanging fruit. The way to think about it is what are the things that are repetitive that are not my core competency, right? Is your core competency, is Edward Strum's core competency editing podcasts? No. Your core competency is, SEO, growth hacking, marketing,
Right.
etc. So why spend any time training up anybody? Anyway, so that's how I feel about when you're an entrepreneur. It's outsourcing everything
Oh, dude,
that tastes like chicken.
I just finished training my editor. It's like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Hopefully people didn't notice, but yeah, it's like a lot.
Well, did you record it?
Did I record myself training him?
Yeah.
I didn't, but I probably should have.
Well, like I have this Limitless Pendant. This is the other thing I would say that I've actually already implemented. I record everything.
That's cool.
There isn't a conversation that I have that's not recorded. And then afterwards,
that's cool.
I can say, here's a recap of our conversation. Here's what we said we were going to do. Here's the idea that we decided on. There's like no ambiguity around, well, what was discussed and who decided, well, you said you're going to do this. Like,
cool.
No, I've got the recording now. So I think that is incredibly low hanging fruit. Not even just, I want to hold somebody accountable, but just to have a repository of all of the discussions.
Can you give examples of how you've used the Limitless Pendant in your day-to-day life? Just some things that you've done with it.
Easily. I have an intern this summer. He's been great. What's the hardest thing about onboarding or having an intern? It's figuring out what to do with them and then systematizing it in a way where they don't have to come to you every 5 minutes asking you questions. So I had my Limitless Pendant on, and we spent almost a day just going through what is this internship going to look like? What are the goals of the internship? How will we know if we're successful? What type of support will you need? What do you need to learn? Who do you need to talk to? All of that stuff, all day. And then at the end of the day, we had a bunch of stuff written on the whiteboard. But even though we had the discussion and made decisions, now it was like, oh crap, now I got to go like write all this out. I got to create for him this orientation plan, right? Because he only wrote down so many notes. And then I was like, actually, what if I took the transcript? So I took the transcript from the day and I asked ChatGPT, please make me a 12-week internship roadmap for this intern. Great. Now create me the internship playbook with all of the goals. Great. Now create me a one-pager that I can send to my partners so that they know what the intern is working on and give me any feedback. Great. So now this intern who's been with me 8 weeks has had every single week mapped out with their goals, and we'll change it, right? Like it's not a static document. But they don't have to come to me with questions on what they should do. It took all of that up front, all the work that we did up front, and synthesized it into something that they can go back and refer to. So there's no, okay, what are we doing this week? Oh, what are we working on? What are the goals? How do we know if we're successful? It's like already there.
And they can query the conversation themselves.
They can query the conversation themselves. Yep. They have an actual document. I'm like a physical document. It's not physical. It's a digital document that they can go and refer to say, what am I working on this week? And then every week after we have our conversations, I have a GPT set up and I'm like, hey, here's what we talked about this week. Does anything need to change to the plan? And it makes a change to the plan.
How useful has this intern been to you?
How useful? Very useful is not in the way that I thought they were going to be useful. So we're launching a venture studio within a healthcare company. I thought that they were going to help me like create the curriculum. And really what they've helped me do is a forcing function to create the thesis behind the venture studio. So it's like,
wow,
they've been exceptionally helpful, just not in the way that I was necessarily planning on doing.
That's always how it goes.
Well, yeah, man. And like the forcing function of like, okay, now I've got the transcript and let's create it. I wouldn't have done all that stuff because it would have been like, too much work. I'm overwhelmed. And now it's like, oh, it's easy. I can do it. And so it's forcing me to also review the transcripts and review the conversations. And it's a reinforcing mechanism. So I think that for any entrepreneur is just incredibly helpful to like record your conversations and just have an ability to go back and query.
Nick, where can everybody find you?
Nickonomics Podcast. Find me on YouTube, Nickonomics Podcast. You can find me on Twitter, co-founders Nick. Yeah, the best places.
Thank you for coming on. I hope you'll do it again and share it. I really liked hearing about what you were getting out of your pendant, because that was a purchase that I considered doing that I didn't do. And I think there's so many use cases there.
Yeah, you should do it. We can talk we'll talk pendants next time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool.
Thank you again, everybody. This is This is episode 727 of The Edward Show. This is my daily digital marketing show, 727 days in a row doing this crazy podcast.
It's awesome.
Thank you again to Nick, and I will talk to all of you again tomorrow. Bye now.